I'm going to just start off because I asked Mac his politics. Like, what does being a Democrat mean to you? Go for it. Yeah. What does being a Democrat mean to you?
So for me, being a Democrat is a party of the people, of community, but also of values. When I think of what Democrats do, we raise the living wage for individuals. We ensure that we have a middle class. We ensure that our public schools are protected. We ensure that we protect our environment. We ensure that when we think of, opportunities, it's employment, it's housing. And so for me, it really is the combination of people and values.
Were you always a Democrat?
I've always been registered as a Democrat.
Can you tell me, is there something on your mind this time about making it easier for small businesses to do their work or getting rid of red tape?
One of the things that's really important is that here in California, we're a really big state. We have 58 counties and over 480 cities. So when people talk about what do we do to help our small businesses, I actually think of my own family, several who are small business owners here in our community, in the Senate district that I represent, and what it's taken them to be able to have their business, but also really work hard, right? It's the investment, it's the will, but it also understanding the system, being able to work with not just state, right, policies or regulations, but also county and city. And one of the things that I think has been really important that as we look at this is how do we align all three, state, county and city policies and regulations so that it creates a more streamlined process. And so certainly that's something that we continue to do. We continue to think about that, but we have so many businesses and also it's very different for each particular sector in terms of what works or doesn't work. So I'm happy that in the state legislature we've been able to do a lot in terms of providing small business loans for our community. Certainly in a time of crisis, we've been able to provide relief. And I, as the chair of the Banking and Finance Committee, we've always thought about also streamlining that process for the loan process. And I'm very happy that in the last 2 years, I've been able to co-author a bill to be able to do that for small businesses.
Your challenger thinks he's an environmentalist and he thinks that the Democrats push progressive issues when they talk about the environment. How do you talk about the environment?
The environment is the place where we all live, and it is so key for all of us to understand that. I'm gonna wait for that kid.
No worries.
The environment is the place where we all live. And I think it's very key to understand that the community that we live in also has to be protected in order for the people to be healthy, in order for the people to be able to live here. And I think a lot about that because I was the representative when we had the Thomas Fire, for example, and the Montecito debris flows. And so protecting our environment in that situation meant really thinking about not just what you do as a community, as a team to be able to help and uplift the community in a time of crisis, but also to get ready for the next thing that comes. I think of the work that I've done in terms of pre-positioning for our environment. I think of the work that we've done to ensure that we have clean air, clean water, uncontaminated soil. So many people don't realize that still today, there are many parts of the world, of our country, and even of our state that don't have all of those things. And so for me, I've been very committed to advance protections for our environment and doing so in a way that really has people and community at the core of what we do and ensuring that they're healthy and that they're living in a place with uncontaminated water, air, and soil.
On that note, if you get another, is it 2 years?
4 years.
4 years. What are your top 3 issues?
In the next 4 years, I think that one of the things that continues to be very pressing for all of our community is just the state of the economy. That is always really important. You look at our state of our economy, jobs, the budget for the state of California, but the issues that remain to be true and important to our community, no matter what is happening, are education, healthcare, housing, the impact of natural disasters, and also the environment. Those are issues that really resonate in a very deep way because here along the Central Coast, this is a district that represents Ventura, Santa Barbara, and San Luis Obispo. And every year we see all of those things impacted in our district. So I'm very proud of the work that I've done over the last years in the legislature to help our community in the education front, certainly in the healthcare space. I've been able to do work to reduce the cost of prescription medicine, for example. In the environment, I continue to do work to be able to protect our environment as it relates to natural disasters. I've been very proud of the work and the resources that we've been able to bring to our community to help with pre-positioning, for example. people, but also to ensure that we're plugging and abandoning, abandoned oil wells. These are all parts of the equation that we do and that the work that we do on behalf of the people we represent.
And just a couple more. Your challenger, who is going to be 20 in November, was I describing you as a career politician. What do you say to that?
I'm very proud of the fact that here in this community, it's a community where I was born and raised, and I spent 14 years working in our education system, both in higher ed at UC Santa Barbara and Santa Barbara City College. So my pathway into elected office was one that came from a community, from serving on various nonprofit boards, working 14 years in higher education, and that really has been my pathway, and that has brought me to elected office. And I'm proud of the work that I've done over the last 8 years, but also very grounded on the fact that I've worked for small businesses here, that I've worked for higher ed systems, that I've had to think about what it means to be able to afford to live in this community, but also thrive in this community, right? These are the everyday issues that have been and continue to be very real to me as someone who came up from this community, but who also had a different pathway to getting into public office. And this wasn't something I knew that I was going to do. I ended up doing this because of my involvement and care for the community.
He did mention that he doesn't think you'll debate, although he'd like to, because he says he has great debating skills as a young person coming out of school. And this will be his first election, I think, as presidential to vote on. What do you say to that? Because I know that that's really sometimes up to the party.
So I would say that third parties, not the political parties, right, are the ones that organize the debates. And so certainly we'll see if invitations come our way, and happy to have a dialogue and conversation about the work that we've done. I think it's really important. I'm proud that a lot of the work I've done, I mean, the majority of the bills that I have carried, well over 90% of them have been with bipartisan support. And so I think that speaks to the issues that I carry, and the issues that are important to people across the aisles, and I'm very proud of that.
And how do you ask for people's votes?
For me, I hope that people will see the work that I've done over the last 8 years, that they understand that the experience we bring to be able to be advocates and voices for our district matters, and certainly does in a place like the Capitol with 120 legislators. So I hope that I'm able to earn the vote of all of our voters, and voters see that the work that we do is really on behalf of the people. And certainly it is difficult, and not every day we agree with each other, but I think at the end of the day, the values that are important for the Central Coast are values that we move forward.